I should have just left it on because right here, a block away, this was my patrol corner. We have Dutchtown South. Schaefer's Hobby Shop used to be there. And this was my walk home from school. After being a little patrol boy on the corner there, we'd come by. Sometimes we'd go by Gebhardt's and get candy. Sometimes we'd go to Winkleman's right there. And then this stop sign was not here. And so people would drive like maniacs through here. My friend Kathy Probst, she and her husband Bob at the time, raised a big family right there, Probst and Sons. The Sipples, my Aunt Lisa, grew up there. The Woolbrights, all kinds of people. My Uncle Donnie and Aunt Lisa had a house down there in Clocky back in the 80s. This is the Louisiana Recovery House where I lived when I got out of rehab like 7 years ago. And it was very exciting because I was living back in the same neighborhood I grew up in, literally on the same block. There's Hassler's house. Here's a little alley I used to ride my bike in that was not really paved at the time. A couple more houses, and then this is the house I lived in after that one we just saw. I lived here from second grade to sophomore year. This was a great house. And of course, we're right across the street from Marquette Park, which I don't even have time to tell you all the stuff and some of the stuff I shouldn't tell you about Marquette Park. But definitely we played soccer here, we played baseball over there, and especially my Uncle Dennis and I were always outside playing sports, and so we played tennis over in this tennis court. We were probably the only kids from the hood who knew how to play tennis because we had this little tennis court. I'm breaking the law, but these one-way streets are ridiculous. Thank goodness the new alderwoman over here agrees with me and is fixing all these stupid one-way streets. But so there's the tennis court, and then on the far side of that we would play fuzzball. And Dennis and I, as little kids, there was some swing sets up there, and we would go up there. You see my church in the background? See St. Anthony's there? And then here's the apartments, and we're on my grandma Seavey Street, where I spent most of my childhood with my aunts and uncles. This is how I'm lucky. This is how I stayed out of trouble, because my aunts and uncles and my church and my high school, my grade school kept us busy. So we knew every house, every inch of this street. We played outside all day long until Grandpa would call us inside for a meal, and then we'd sit for a half hour in the living room and watch TV with him, then we'd go back outside. And here's the famous 3920, where my dad and all his brothers and sisters, my aunt and uncles, all 15 of them, grew up there where my grandpa grew up. After his father passed away and they moved over here with his uncle, and my great-grandma Therese, who got to see me before she passed away, the oldest grandchild I am. And boy, we used to play tag-ups along here. Chevy, the dog, Jeannie's dog, used to be underneath that porch all the time. We'd hang out with her under there all the time. We'd make water balloons in that gangway, and we would play kick the can in the alley, Tin Can Alley we called it, Tin Can Alley in St. Louis. And here's the Rock Alley, which was our favorite hiding spot, especially for Tin Can Alley. And here was the gas station. My grandpa CB worked up here as like a second job sometimes to support his family. He was a union boilermaker. Now I think Mike Palazzolo owns it still. And then we have up here Christoph's Supermarket, where a lot of St. Anthony's and neighborhood locals would shop back then. Back then you would just come in and say, put it on our account, and they were wonderful about getting you through the next payday. God, I know with my big family, I'm sure they took care of quite a few meals for us. I worked there for a little bit in high school, cleaning out the butcher, great butcher, the best bratwurst in the world, the best meatloaf in the world, and here we are. We would hit Chippewa, where as a little kid I would be out of bounds right now. I won't drive down the other street and show you Dad's cookie, but get a little feel of the old neighborhood. Yes, it has declined financially. We were mostly working families, paycheck to paycheck, when I grew up here, and Now there's a little bit more poverty, and you can see that typically in St. Louis, a lot more black folks. But these are good people, man. They go to work, they try and raise their families, they deal with a lot of crap just like we always did. And I love this neighborhood, and I love these people. And I will definitely miss it. Call this the motherland, das Mutterland. This was called Dutch Town because the scrubby Dutch, they called them. The Germans would come out, and the old ladies, this is not a lie, the old ladies would trim the grass with scissors and scrub the curbs. I guess we'll end with a picture of St. Anthony's there from a distance.